Okay, I'm happy to present to you Ian Smith and the rest of the gang from Freeverse and their game Marathon Durandal.
Hello. It's not strictly our game. It's a modernization and a port of a game by a company called Bungie, which is not on. Better? Did everyone hear that? And Freeverse has a slightly odd beginning. We're a relatively old company since 1994, and we started on the Mac as a shareware company, and basically myself and a friend, and that has had very similar issues as the Blackwell. I made the first game, and then it got very hard to grow into market and to do all that. So 15, 14 years later, we're here as a big company, but it takes a while sometimes. What happened was, because we were a Mac company, Bungie started out as a Mac company, and a lot of the guys who work with us were Mac guys and were hardcore Bungie fans from long ago. And so we contacted Bungie. Luckily, one of the people in our office actually played, I believe it was World of Warcraft, that he was with some of the Bungie guys. So they got to talking, and it's all personal. It's all about the relationship. They got to talking, and we proposed to them that we port this game called Marathon they made in the mid-90s. And it has a familiar storyline. It's a game in which you're a cybernetically enhanced Marine, and you're in deep space, and you're working with a slightly quirky AI battling hordes of different species of aliens. So it's a lot like a game called Halo. And for that reason, we thought it would be a good thing to propose to them. And we made it, and it's out as of 3 weeks ago, for Xbox Live Arcade. And I just want to go quickly over some of the points in the development, and then I want to turn a lot of the time over to the Q&A, because I brought the two of the three main coders and our QA lead, and I'll be around for any sort of business-related questions. So we got onto the Xbox off of the Mac, though we're still there in a wide range of products, through a game we made called Toy Site, which was a camera-controlled game. And we came out very early. And when the Microsoft guys were thinking they needed an answer to the Sony iToy, they looked around and then they called us up and they said, "Make this for Xbox, please. Here's lots and lots of money." And so we agreed. And that was good. And this actually, Marathon is our third released Xbox Live Arcade title. The first game, the camera-controlled game, was called Totem Ball, which has its own story, which I talked about last time. You can see it on YouTube, thanks to the Melody guys. And then also Spyglass, which through absolutely no planning and no a twist of fate came out on the exact same day on Xbox Live Arcade. So Spyglass is a suite of board games that we made. So we've sort of gone heavily into the Xbox Live Arcade development. And I think six of us just got back from their Game Fest last week in Seattle. So what went right? What went right was that we had a vision to, because we were big fans of the original game, we sort of played the hell out of it when it first came out. We had the vision to not just do a port, because if you've ever been on Xbox Live Arcade, it's filled with basically a lot of emulators. Search for Beer Tapper on Xbox Live Arcade, and you'll see sort of it's just a wrapper. And our most direct sort of comparison was Doom, which came out for Xbox Live Arcade. And that also, they did sort of some nice work with the launching screen, but then once you get into the game, it's just an emulator. And we felt like with moving from an old keyboard mouse game to the controller and everything in high def, we just needed to take advantage. And Marathon was very advanced in its day. It featured co-op gameplay, it featured 8-player multiplayer, and all this stuff that we wanted, that could really shine in a way that it couldn't when you had to sort of get your friends together on Apple Talk in the live system. So we decided that we would sort of do it up. The game runs in high def. We redid all of the assets. We rebuilt the engine from scratch, pretty much. We can talk more about that, sort of half-built it. One of the things we did right very early was Steven built a loader on the 360 to to bring all the map data and textures just into a 3D world. It was late last summer, and he did it sort of on the side, and he got all the map data running. And so when we were talking to Bungie and Microsoft, it made a huge difference to be able to like turn on the Xbox and show flying like Superman or bumping off of walls through the old game in the old art. That made a big difference. So what else went right is, look at my notes. We actually hit our timing went right, despite this tremendous number of assets. Because the game was not a real 3D game, if you could jump into survival for a little bit. So you can tell it looks sort of 3D, but everything in it is 2D art in this 3D environment. And so it's, okay. And so every creature you see has 8 frames or something, a number of frames. So as you circle around, they rotate. And this is a game addition we added to it. This was not in the original game. We made some custom maps, and it's called Survival Mode. And we drop you in with all the weapons that you could ever really want, and then we start ramping up the enemies and increasing their frequency until you're dead within a couple minutes. It's a lot of fun. It's like this whole 3D sort of deathmatch experience, first-person deathmatch experience. But it's very easy. Just go in, play it, and walk away. First, the full game itself, which has tremendous story mode. It's 30 levels, 31 levels? 28. 28, yeah. And thanks, you guys know more. 16,000 words of text in the story.
An awful lot.
Yeah, an awful lot. It was, and also localized into 7 or 8 languages. So it was a big thing. Some things we did do. Our networking layer, we hired a sort of a professional with console experience who'd done lots of networking, and we're very happy with how that turned out. It wasn't quite as smooth as we'd hoped as sort of getting a middleware experience, but he would actually end up working on the project directly too. But the end result is awesome when you have 8 people jumping in and playing each other on live and playing this old game, and it works beautifully. Okay, you can go back out. And after that, I think we did what we set out to do. And I think I'm going to turn it over now, because mostly I want to sort of open it up so you can talk directly to the coders or the QA guy or me, and just anything you want to know about the process of talking to a company like Microsoft and Bungie especially. That's one thing that was sort of interesting was Bungie, it was clearly their game. It was one of their first games, their first big hit, and we wanted their input, and it was funny because they clearly cared and they paid attention, and they're extremely serious about what they do, and they're extremely sort of secretive too. But during the development, they were also really, really, really busy on Halo 3, and so every now and then these words would come down about what we were doing, but it was clearly like rushed and on the side, and so we're happy that it turned out well.